Hello everybody, and thank you for coming to another nature story time. It is fall, and we have a very fall themed story for you. How many of you have ever raked up all the leaves in your yard and then jumped into the giant pile of leaves? Right? That's like one of the most fun parts of fall. So our story today is called The Big Leaf Leap, and it was written by Beth Griffin and illustrated by Malek Davis. Let's get started. See if you can identify any of the types of leaves you see in this story. I have at least 2 of these leaves in my yard right now. The girl wanted a big leaf pile to leap in, a huge leaf pile, an enormous leaf pile. She wanted it deep and soft and crunchy and springy. She wanted it tall enough and wide enough to leap into all afternoon. Let's see what she's dreaming of here. So many leaves. So she raked and raked and raked, with the warm sun on her back and the cool breeze in her hair, until every red star maple leaf in her entire yard was mounted up in one pile. But the pile wasn't big enough for the girl. It was not huge enough. It was not nearly enormous enough. She frowned. Then she heard laughing from next door. She peered over the fence and said, "Hey!" The laughing stopped, and negotiations started. What do you think they're going to do? Soon, the 2 small leaf piles became one bigger leaf pile, with red star maple leaves and brown lobed oak leaves, but the pile wasn't big enough for the girl and the boy next door. It was not huge enough. It was not nearly enormous enough. They frowned. So she had maple leaves and he had oak leaves. Then they heard shrieking from across the street. They looked both ways and ran over. "Hey," they said. The shrieking stopped, and negotiations started. Now what do you think they're going to do? Soon, the 3 small leaf piles became one even bigger leaf pile, with red star maple leaves, brown lobed oak leaves, and yellow fan ginkgo leaves. But the pile wasn't quite big enough for the girl and the boy next door and the kids across the street. It was not quite huge enough. It was almost enormous enough, but not quite. They frowned. Then they heard shouting from down the block. Angry shouting. They raised their eyebrows and shrugged their shoulders and hustled down there to check it out. The twins down the block were fighting because their leaf pile wasn't big enough for 2 kids to jump in at the same time. And what do you know? The girl and the boy next door and the kids across the street knew just what to do about that. So the fighting stopped and the negotiations began. Soon, the twins helped haul their leaf pile up the block to the vacant lot, and others brought their pile too, till the red star maple leaves, and the brown lobed oak leaves, and the yellow fan ginkgo leaves, and the gold heart aspen leaves made a small mountain together. But the kids looked at each other and scrunched up their noses and shook their heads. They could do better. They added every leaf they could find from the whole street. Saw-toothed birch leaves, and bright fringed honey locust leaves, and fiery red sumac leaves, and big as your head catalpa leaves. Until before them towered the biggest leaf pile, the hugest leaf pile, the most enormously enormous leaf mountain ever. It was deep and soft and crunchy and springy. It was tall enough and wide enough to leap into all afternoon. And all the kids from the whole neighborhood circled around it, with the warm sun on their backs and the cool breeze in their hair. They looked at the leaf mountain, these kids, all tired and dirty and sweaty and happy and ready to play. One, the girl said. 2, 3, leap! Learn more about leaves. Let's learn more. The job leaves do for trees. Trees need energy to live and grow, just like you do. But trees and other plants don't get their energy by eating food. They get it from sunlight. The chlorophyll, the green pigment, in their leaves traps energy from the sun. That energy makes sugars out of carbon dioxide from the air and water. This amazing process is called photosynthesis. The plant then gives off oxygen, which we breathe. Leaves do important work for trees and for people. Why leaves change color in the fall? The chlorophyll in leaves is what makes them look green. In the fall, when there are fewer hours of daylight, trees stop making chlorophyll. Photosynthesis stops for the winter to help trees conserve their energy. Without the strong green to cover them up, the leaves' other colors show through. The orange and yellow pigments, called carotenoids, were there all along, hiding beneath the green. Trees also start making a new red and purple pigment, called anthocyanin, in the fall. With the green gone, the other pigments get to put on a show. Tree ID, leaves as name tags. Different kinds of trees have very different leaves. The leaves are shaped to do their job well, depending on what the tree needs in its environment. You can identify a tree by looking closely at its leaves. Look at the clues like their shape, their edges, the patterns of their veins, and how the leaves are clustered together. Use a field guidebook or website to help you name that tree, like this handy guide on the Arbor Day Foundation site. It says www.arborday.org/trees/whattree. Why leaves fall in the fall? Trees have stored up some of the energy their leaves made during the summer so that they can shut down for winter, just like a hibernating bear. They can survive a while without their leaves. The tree also needs to conserve water. When the tree stops moving water into the leaves, they dry out and fall off. Trees whose leaves aren't sturdy enough for the harsh cold and winds of winter are called deciduous trees. New fresh leaves will grow on these trees in the spring. Why leaf cleanup is important in the city. In urban areas, it's important to clean up leaves to keep them from being washed down storm drains and into lakes and rivers. Nutrients from extra decomposing leaves, that means old dead leaves that are breaking down, feed algae in these waterways. All that unwanted and gross algae hogs oxygen that fish and native plants need. Be sure to clean up leaves from sidewalks and curbs, and especially from around storm drains, to keep lakes and rivers healthy. Leaving the leaves where they lie. You don't have to rake up all the leaves that drop in the fall, though. It's good to leave some leaves in your yard and garden to provide habitat for wildlife and insulation for plants. As the leaves decompose, they replenish the soil with important nutrients and help trap water. Even though the leaves are done doing their job for the trees, they still have important work to do on the ground. So those are some fun facts about trees and leaves. Things to consider as you clean up your yards in the fall, that maybe you want to leave some leaves, especially if you're not close to any storm drains where they might accidentally get washed into the lake. Enjoy what's left of fall. Maybe try IDing some leaves, maybe some that you saw in this book, or like the book said, you could find a guide or a tree ID guide and go out and see what you can find. We hope to see you again soon for another story time. Bye-bye.